James.
And today we have a new guest emerges. Hello, Stephanie. How are you doing?
Hey, I'm doing really well. I'm super excited to be here because this is like one of my favorite podcasts and I love Lost. So very excited.
Oh, well, that's lovely to hear. Thank you so much for coming on. We really appreciate it.
Thanks for asking
Before
me.
we get going, I want to ask you what your what's your history with our favorite. So it's no secret that Lost is our favorite television show.
It's not mine, but go on.
Yeah.
So what's your history with our favorite television show of Lost?
Good question. Okay, so I didn't watch it when it aired, but I have seen the whole show. So I think I watched it in, I want to say like, it was when I was in my undergrad. So I think it was like 2013 or something. I watched the entire show over the course of about a month. So I was watching like 7 episodes a day or something stupid.
My gosh.
It was a little much. But yeah, I blazed through the show because I really, really liked it. And then I haven't really rewatched it since then. So that's my history with it. But it's probably, it's up there as one of my favorite shows, even though it's one of those shows that like has some very clear problems, as you guys have talked about a lot. But I still love it a lot anyway.
This show? Having problems? No. That doesn't sound like the Lost I've watched 90 episodes of.
I think
True.
this show has many problems, and I'll go on record stating that.
That's fair. That's a valid take, in my opinion.
I think so too.
Well, that's great. That's oh my god, watching this entire show in a month, I feel like it must all just kind of like have blurred together. Is that
Yeah, that's kind of what it did. So like I think that something that made my Lost viewing experience really different from a lot of people's is like if you watched it when it was airing, you were waiting like week to week and coming up with theories of like everything that was happening. So when you didn't get payoff, it was really shitty. But for me, it was like, oh, if there wasn't payoff for something, like it's not the end of the world. I wasn't thinking about it that hard, but the stuff that there was payoff for was like really good. So I think that kind of helped a little bit.
That's interesting.
Yeah, that definitely is removes one of the key elements of the initial because that was definitely a whole thing of
Like initial disappointment.
Yeah, for sure.
Oh, that's cool. I feel like it's bizarre that like I have watched the show now in a way that I feel like no one else ever has.
That's true.
So it's like I do the week-to-week thing, but also pay off. Even when it does happen, I forget.
There's no
what I
like,
watched a year
there's
ago,
no
so.
context with any.
Yeah.
We've completely removed any context of payoff by watching it in this completely ridiculous way.
We should have just watched it really quickly.
yeah. You did a better job than we did, I think.
Maybe like a more enjoyable job, but like a less creative job of it. So.
That's true. It is all about creativity here on the Island Shuffle, the most creative podcast that's ever existed. So we watched an episode of Lost this week, like we always do, and we watched episode of season 2, episode 19, and the title of the episode is, of course, S.O.S, and it's all about our favorite couple on the show. It's not Jack and Kate. It's not Sawyer and Juliet.
It's Sawyer and Kate.
It's Sawyer and Kate.
No.
No, it's Rose and Bernard.
Aww.
Yeah.
Aww.
I forgot how good Rose and Bernard truly were until I watched this episode.
They're good is the thing.
They're so lovable.
They're just these cute old people, and they're straight, but it's good.
Aww.
Yeah, true. They are unfortunately tragically straight, but like they do the most that they can for it, I think. Like this episode almost made me cry. I'm not gonna lie. There was a point where I was like very close to having a tear in my eye, and it was good.
There are a couple of scenes that definitely almost got me sad. Like, oh my god, these old people are expressive.
Aww.
Oh my gosh, and they're in love.
It's weird to watch a podcast, or not watch podcasts. It's weird to podcast about a show that like made me feel real emotions that aren't just angry. Because normally I podcast about Sex and the City, and that makes me angry a lot of the time. So it was like, oh, this is sweet, and I feel like touched. So.
You got very lucky if that is
I
your
know. I
experience.
did get very lucky.
Yeah, every week is a roll of the dice. Sometimes we're happy, and sometimes we are very angry.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Very inconsistent.
Yeah. So I feel like it probably makes the most sense to start with like the flashbacks.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think so.
Because their story is just so beautiful and it needs to be shared.
That's true.
It does.
Finally,
it really
we can-
rolls, yeah. It really rolls
Finally
into
someone-
like the island story. Yeah.
No, go ahead.
Oh, I was just saying it really rolls into the island story. Like they kind of come together at the end, and it's very nice.
That's true.
Totally.
Yes.
Yeah.
And it's just like so simple. Like it's so like
Yeah.
straightforward. It literally is like so like the first scene that we see is Rose is stuck in snow. She's trying to drive out, and then along comes a random man named Bernard. And Bernard says, "Roll down your window. I'm going to tell you the solution to this problem." And Rose insists on saying, "Hey, no, I know what I'm doing." And it's a classic meat of cute, as they say.
It's cute meat.
I mean, if I was her, I would have like. She is lucky that she's very, like open to new people. Because if that was me, I would have just like rolled my window back up and been like, "This weird guy's talking to me right now." But I'm happy she didn't do that. So.
Yes, I completely. It's good that she didn't do it, but she would have been right to do that.
Yeah.
She would have been absolutely correct to just roll up the window and lock the doors.
I loved in this scene watching because Bernard makes her like, he's like rocket on the gas and then he like pushes from behind. And I just love that he's pushing from behind because you look at that man and you know that like he can't, that one man can't really help a car get unstuck.
No, and then he falls over.
Yeah,
He does
and then
fall
he
over.
falls on his face. And it's like that. Yeah, I feel like that is more. You look at that man and you see like that is a man who falls down a lot.
True.
That's true. Oh God, it's true. But there's another line in this scene that I really liked, which is Rose at one point just exasperatedly says like, "That's it. I'm calling AAA." And Bernard says incredulously, "What? So they can bring a tow truck?" And like, yes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I feel like yes.
we're stuck.
Yeah. What else? But anyways, that's it. They oh gosh, what happens next? Oh yeah, the car is free. Bernard says, "All right, well, my name's Bernard, my name's Rose, nice to meet you, and I guess we'll go off on our separate ways forever." Except that at the last moment, Rose says, "Wait, want to grab a cup of coffee sometime?" And golly, what a decision.
Yeah,
Aw, his
changed
face
both of
lights
their
up.
lives forever.
Yeah, it's nice. I love to
So-
see his face just light up like it does. He's just like
Oh.
so happy that she's asked.
It is very, very sweet.
Especially whenever I think it's in the next scene, whenever we discover Bernard's just lack of luck in the love department.
Yes, we find out that Bernard has been a bachelor for like over 50 years.
For 57 years. And it's
Oh.
but he found the one.
He found the one. The next scene is them on a date in, it looks like Niagara Falls, I think.
Yeah, I think
Yeah.
it is.
I think so.
And Bernard manages to pull off a really slick proposal. And manages to signal two violinists to literally sneak up and silently emerge from nowhere.
From mere inches away from like Rose's head.
Yeah. Rose is like, "Bernard, what are you doing? It looks like you're kind of like doing something."
Yeah.
And then Bernard gives the signal, and suddenly they're just
They're
there.
there.
It's
And they are playing their stringed instruments.
Mm-hmm. And they are, and Bernard gets down on one knee and says a big, heartfelt proposal, and says, says, "I've been single for 50 years, but when I met you, we had just this perfect chemistry. And 5 months might seem a little quick, but doesn't seem quick to me because I knew after 5 minutes."
Wow.
Five
Doesn't that just
months.
melt your heart?
5 months.
5
That's-
months. Yeah.
I mean,
He's rushing into it.
Shout out to Bernard. Good job. I was a little bit surprised by that, but like it's romantic the way he says it, even though I'm like, man, you guys are probably kind of like in a honeymoon period still, but like, but good for you anyway.
Yes.
Well, he just
Before we
wants
get
to
our, like,
continue the honeymoon period with a literal honeymoon. He's like, it will never end if we just honeymoon next week. Let's go to Vegas, get
true.
married.
Yeah, and then they get and then they're going to get divorced and then just keep getting married and then extend this honeymoon phase forever.
Exactly.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
This whole scene reminded me so much of like, did you guys ever watch A Walk to Remember? Like the first Nicholas Sparks movie that came out, like I was like
never
in grade 5.
seen that movie.
Because like the main
I know
twist of
this,
the
though.
movie is like Mandy Moore is the girl in high school, and like the guy, like the bad boy kind of like falls in love with her, and then she's like, the main part of the movie is like, she's like, he tells her that he loves her, and then she's like, I'm sick. Like, I'm really sick. And it's like, it's supposed to be really sad, but it's just like one of those really corny movies where you're like, oh, but this was actually sad in the show. But it very much reminded me of A Walk to Remember when they try to make that like the twist of the thing.
Yeah, it definitely. I was thinking the whole time of like, this scene is such a like whiplash and so like clearly like it shouldn't work at all. It should be like the corniest thing you've ever heard of.
Yeah.
And but like they managed to.
You know what it
sell
is, though? And we haven't even explicitly stated what happens. So Bernard proposes, and Rose drops the bomb that she's sick and dying with cancer, and that she has like a year left to live. But in that moment after she does that, like, the actor that plays Bernard, his face is so expressive for like 5 solid seconds, and like his eyes are darting back and forth.
Yeah, he's
It's
like processing it.
It's a really good moment of silence.
Yeah. Unexpected
he
sells
this for me. Like, it takes what could be like a super corny kind of like not serious, well, I mean serious, but like you don't take it seriously scene. It takes that and makes it like one of the genuinely like most moving moments of this show, because he's just like like stares right at her and he's like, you still haven't answered my question yet. And I'm like,
yeah. And Rose is like, are you sure? And guess what? Bernard's sure, guys.
He's sure. You never ask a dentist, are you sure?
He sure is a dentist.
Are you sure you're a dentist? Asks Rose. A big scene. Unexpected. It got me. It got me in the heart.
Yeah.
The next scene is the honeymoon aforementioned. They're driving around in the Australian outback, and Rose is like, "Oh, I wanted a beach. I didn't want to be lost in the outback." And it's the classic like, oh, my husband doesn't want to ask for directions.
Yeah, but to be fair, there's no one for him to ask.
True. But it turns out they're not even lost. I mean, they're lost the show, but they're not lost.
Spiritually, they're very lost.
But Bernard is not actually lost. I want to do a supercut of every single time they say the word lost on the show, just to like drill that all the way home. Because I feel like some of it is definitely like I'm pretty sure like Jacob explicitly says like that you guys were all capital L lost before I found you, and then there's times like this where it's just like, shit, I don't know where I am, guess I'm lost.
True.
So guess what, Bernard's taking Rose to what turns out to be a faith healer. And Bernard is like, listen, this guy might seem like a grifter, but he's the real deal. I've been looking into your situation and trying to sort this out for you. And Rose is not impressed. Rose says, I didn't want this. I've made my peace with my fate, and I don't want this. And Bernard once again delivers a big expressive acting moment and says, well, I can't just sit by and do nothing. And I have to try to do something. It's another scene that kind of got me a little bit.
It's good. They have good chemistry. Rose
Yeah.
and Bernard. They have like
Can't hear
their
you.
relationship is just so cute and believable.
Mm-hmm.
So, and it's nice. It's nice that Bernard doesn't want Rose to die. I like that is the main tension in their relationship. Bernard's like, I don't want you to die, and Rose is like, I'm gonna.
It's weird that it's like one of the only like relationships I care about in the
Yeah.
show. Like genuinely, like I'm like Sawyer and Juliet. I'm like, oh, this is fun. Like Rose and Bernard, I would like die for.
Totally, yeah. Well, and they're the only one that's like constant, because even like Sun and Jin are constant, but they're constantly separated and trying to get back from one another.
Rose and Bernard are just hanging out, having fun,
Getting lit.
That's true.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like if you're at a point where you're like married, you should probably like know whether someone's gonna want you to do that for them or not. But
Understandable. But this turns out I think is part of this is one of Bernard's character flaws of he just can't stop.
He has to try.
He has to try.
yeah, it's fair. And like I understand. Like she's literally dying. So like I get that he's gonna want to do anything he possibly can. But yeah.
It's very like it's easy to sympathize with Bernard in this situation, and it's also very easy to sympathize with Rose in this situation.
Yeah,
it's weird
like,
how this
yeah.
is like a conflict that like makes sense and is
Yeah.
feels like grounded in like real characters making real decisions, even though these like are ostensibly just like side characters. I
Yeah,
don't know how
like
they do
neither of them are wrong. Like they're both
Yeah.
they're both valid. I did think it was kind of like wild that he made a $10,000 donation without her knowing when they're like married. But I was like, who knows? Maybe this isn't a thing for you. But
we'll talk about it, but Bernard's like decision to like fully buy into this faith healer is like very wild. It's definitely lit.
But also, to be fair, it's like Bernard definitely has a giant pile of money, because it's like he has never been attached to another person in his entire life. He has no children. He is a dentist. You look at him and he clearly hasn't bought clothes in the past 20 years. He drove an unimpressive car. So I feel like he has so much money. $10,000 is like the least he could reasonably donate to anything.
that's fair. It's a
absolutely.
really good point. That those dental riches and not having kids, that pays. Like they're expensive.
It's so much money just by
Yeah.
not having kids.
Having a whole child, feeding, clothing, raising, teaching, that adds up.
Bernard's like TV dinners that he bought every week for the past 50 years. It seems like his only expense. He doesn't have to pay dental bills.
Yeah, here's what I like to think about Bernard. I like to think that he is incredibly rich, and yet he still like lives like as I do.
Yeah,
like he just eats crab dinner like every other day.
Yeah.
I can sort of picture it. I can really picture it. I just love how much Bernard just looks like a man on the bus.
That's so apt. Like,
That's so apt. Especially like compared to all the other like there's there's two genre of actors on Lost. There's like obscenely handsome like celebrity style, and then there's like character-ish actors who are a little more unconventional looking. And then Bernard's just a guy.
It's just a man.
true.
There's also something like vaguely menacing about Bernard as well.
Yeah. His faces are sometimes like a little bit scary.
A little
Yeah.
bit.
He has like this I don't know, this somewhat blank stare. Like even in the really emotional part, whenever Rose says she's dying, it's like if you had a different line delivered right before that, you could believe he's like about to murder.
Does Bernard have murder in his heart? Like, I don't know.
He might just. There's no way of knowing for sure, unfortunately. Rose decides to humor Bernard and goes to visit this faith healer whose name is Isaac. And Isaac is also just a guy.
He's some man.
I was expecting like for him to be a mystic faith healer looking guy, but he's just like dressed in like khakis and a shirt.
Yeah, he's just this bald man.
Yeah.
He wears tan colors.
He just wears beige. He's
Yeah.
just like a guy. And he comes through and he says, "Hey, my name's Isaac. Have you ever heard about energy? Well, what I like to do in my spare time is harness the special energy that's under this earth, and I use it to heal people." And so he says, "Well, let me take a look at you," and does a mysticism, and then says, "Oh, actually, I'm sorry. There's just nothing I can do for you. The energy here doesn't resonate with you or something. It's just, maybe somewhere on this earth there's somewhere that has energy that would heal you, but it's just not here. And I'm darn sorry. I'll return your husband's huge donation." And Rose says, "No, don't do that. Actually, keep the donation. I'm gonna tell my husband that you fixed me, so that he doesn't waste what little time we have left running himself ragged." And it's another sweet little moment. That's pretty much the flashbacks, huh? That's all of them. There's not much, but they're good.
Yeah.
They're potent.
Rose is like, "I'm going to lie to my man."
Yeah.
And the other man is like, "All right, cool. I'll keep your money."
That's true. And so on the island, Bernard and Rose are hanging out. They're sorting out some food. And Bernard holds up a bag of potato chips and says, "Doesn't this bother you, Rose?"
Yeah.
And Rose is reasonably unbothered by a bag of potato chips. But then Bernard goes on to elaborate and say, "Hey, listen, back on my side of the island, we were dying, we were screaming, we were just barely surviving. Literally only like 4 of us made it. And you guys are here, you're digging in, you're making a kitchen, you guys got laundry." Well, you guys, it's like you guys don't even want to leave anymore.
I like how it sounds like you're making fun of him, but also you're just saying exactly what he said. He's like,
Yeah.
"You're doing laundry. You got a kitchen out here," and that's his big concern. He's like,
That they're like, well.
he believes that people are too comfortable and it's stopping them from wanting to leave the island.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
And this is the aspect of this episode that I like a bit less, I think, just because I really disagree with Bernard's reasoning here.
Yeah, it's very just like, it definitely is very like, we need something for Bernard to do.
Yeah, totally. But it's like, yeah, I don't think just because they are eating food in the sun and they have beans means that everyone has like given up on getting out.
Yes. So Bernard has a big plan, and he gathers everybody around and says, "Listen up. Here's the deal. There's planes going overhead that are dropping this food off, right? Well, if we make a big sign on the beach, we can get their attention, and then maybe someone will rescue us." At first, there's like 15 people kind of standing around him and being like, "Oh, okay, it sounds like a fun time." And Rose kind of calls him out during this speech and says, like, I forget what exactly she says.
Well,
She's giving them false hope.
yeah, and she's like, "Shouldn't we run this by Jack?"
Yes,
I did love
that's
this when
exactly
he's
right.
like, "But Jack's just a doctor. Why do we need to run everything by him?" And she's like, "Well, you're just a dentist," which is like
Yeah.
Roasted.
true, but you're fucking dragging your husband in front of like the whole beach, like.
Totally.
I mean, sometimes you gotta do it to your man like that.
True.
You gotta put him on blast in front of the whole island.
I love how it's like, if you have a TV show or any situation where there's a doctor and a dentist, there has to be a scene where the dentist feels inadequate beside the doctor. There's no other real industry where it's not like limo drivers are like, "Oh, you're not a taxi driver," or something like that. Or I guess vice versa.
Yeah.
But doctors and dentists don't measure up.
That's true. I don't know why that is. Why is that an
It's
established
so
thing?
sad.
Big doctor funding all these all these scripts. Rose and Bernard go aside and they say, well, just like, I'm just trying to help people and do something to get off this island. And Rose says, you're giving them false hope is what you're doing, which, okay, a little intense maybe, but not wrong. And so now the crew has unfortunately dwindled down to about 6 or 5.
Yeah.
Hurley's there, Jin's there, and there's a couple of randos. Oh, by the way, I want to mention that like it's good to go back to the era of Lost when there's like extras.
Yeah.
Because looking at all the randos and being like, wow, who are these guys? There's a really funny shot right after Rose says, look at them, you're giving them false hope, and it cuts to like Sun and Jin. And then the camera like focuses on just like another guy on a bus.
Man. Yeah, that's how I was going to describe him too. It looks like another person who would be on the bus.
Yeah.
Like, oh. And it's just like, why do we care about this man? Why did they choose that?
That particular man.
They focused away from like 2 of the main characters to just this person that we will never see again. And it's like really pushing home the idea of false hope. And it's like, what is this? False hope that we might ever hear, that this guy might ever get a speaking role or something?
It's always funny when thinking about how the show handles like the non-main characters but who are still ostensibly survivors. It's always a fun time. So the next scene is Bernard's like, oh my gosh, we only got 5 people. All right, well, that's fine. Here's the plan. There's a lot of heavy rocks a half-mile inland. You guys are all going to carry them in teams of 2, and I'm going to stay behind and draw lines and draw SOS in the sand.
Who's like, I'd like to do the drawing, and he's like, no.
Hurley. Yeah, Hurley fully calls him out and says like, I can do the drawing.
Yeah.
Bernard says like, we all have a part to play. Which
Really good.
A very good moment.
Yeah. So this whole like plot line is it's really funny because it's just Bernard not being very good at trying to do what he's trying to do, and it's just he's so flawed in this episode. It's really great.
Yeah, I do love that he's kind of like on the one hand he's very sympathetic, and like the whole Rose plot makes me go like, oh, that's so sweet, but then on the other hand he's like your bastard boss, like I don't know.
Totally.
Yeah.
He's incredibly a boss in this episode.
If I crashed on an island and then some like 60-year-old man was like, all right, you gotta move the rocks around. What are you doing, you lazy asshole? Eating Cheetos in the sun.
Yeah, he literally goes, we had so many scenes of him going like from place to place and just like roasting people for like not helping.
Yeah.
The one scene I want to highlight is he goes to Echo and Charlie are building a church, and you know what Bernard thinks about building things.
He hates it.
He's not a fan.
You don't want to leave.
And he says as much and says, you guys are getting too comfy. Everyone's trying to build something. I'm trying to save us. And Echo hits him with the old, you know what? People are saved in different ways. And then Bernard replies and says, you know what? I liked you better when you just hit people with your stick, and then storms off and goes back to roasting other people. And then Charlie gets a good moment.
Yeah, he has like a surprisingly actual good episode because he's only in it for like a minute. It's really nice.
It's nice.
He has one line.
Yes.
Great line.
A great line. The line is, after Bernard leaves, he just says to Echo casually, you know what? I like you fine just the way you are.
Oh.
It's sweet.
It's sweet.
I also really liked the scene where he tries to recruit Sawyer, and Sawyer's just like, is there union trouble down at the sand factory? I love it.
It's really good. Good Sawyer episode. Sawyer just like is like going about his business and pretty much ignoring Bernard and just like roasting him back.
Yeah.
Bernard cannot fucking hang with Sawyer. It's great.
I feel like maybe and this is just a thought that's coming to me, but maybe like the biggest problem with season 5 when they're like in the Dharma Initiative is just Sawyer doesn't roast the Dharma people.
No.
It's like he's not like, he doesn't call the like nerdy looking guys like Waldo or anything. He doesn't like, I want those lines.
Yeah, he's
True.
everybody's friend in season 5.
Yeah.
And while it is character growth, I don't necessarily like, you know, there's something about him just strutting around with that shit-eating grin and just like fucking.
It's just so many one-liners.
There's
It's
so
beautiful.
many one-liners. Later in this episode, he also calls Jack Dr. Giggles, and it's good.
That's good.
Fuck, it's good. Oh yeah, the best. Charlie is insufferable, and the only time Charlie is ever good is when he's just when he's building a church for Echo. He's just not doing anything. He's not like getting involved. He's just like, you see him carrying a log and being like, "Hey there," and that's fine. That's great. It's very tolerable.
No.
What happens next? Things come to a head when the only person left really is Jin. And Bernard starts screaming at Jin and says, "No, I wanted 3 rows of rocks, not whatever you're doing." And Jin's just like, "Fuck this," and leaves.
Yeah, Jin is moving rocks for Bernard, and Bernard literally yells at him
Yep.
a lot.
I'd love to work with Jin because he seems like the kind of person who would like also stand up with you against your boss, and you're like, yeah, I need that.
Totally.
Jin is for the people. Jin wants us to unionize.
Jin wants us to unionize because he knows what it's
100%.
like on the other side. He knows what it's like to have a boss who tells you not to marry his daughter or who tells you to murder people.
This is what unions are, right?
Yeah. Unions are fighting against that type of workspace where you have to murder people.
Yeah.
True.
That's true. God, that is just so damn true. Rose comes over and Bernard's just like arranging rocks on his own. Rose brought like this like beautiful pot of something and says, "I brought you dinner," and says, "How's it going?" And Bernard says, "Not good. Everybody left." And then Rose hits him with the truth about Isaac. Rose says, "I lied to you, honey. I didn't. Isaac." Here's what I really like. Is, listen. Rose says, "Listen, the island didn't heal me." Sorry, no, I've got that backwards. Says Isaac didn't heal me, but that doesn't mean I'm not healed. And then she goes on this like big monologue about like, you know, when you're sick, when there's something wrong with you, you can feel it inside of you. It's like a presence. And when I came to this island, that presence was gone. At first I thought it was shock, but I'm pretty positive now that the sickness is gone and I'm healed. So I don't want to leave this island. And the first thing Bernard does is immediately say like, "Well, how do you know it wasn't Isaac?
Oh, God.
How do you know he didn't heal you?"
He
Yeah.
says it like 3 times, too.
He just loves Isaac so much.
He loves the faith healer. He has no faith in the magical island with the smoke monster.
But he does believe in Isaac, the man who wears beige.
Yeah, exactly. What about the bald man in the khaki pants? I gave him, well, to be fair, he did give him $10,000 and then was told that he cured his wife's cancer.
Yeah, true.
So I guess he can have like 20 seconds to get over it.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's true.
He has
Yeah.
a bit of a bias in that. I would too. If I gave someone $10,000, I'd like convince myself they did their job. But
Totally.
Yep. Yep.
That's what I do, like, to university every day.
Well, how do you know it wasn't Concordia?
Yeah, how do you know they didn't? I don't know. What did they do?
What did they do?
Give me a job. I don't know. Oh well.
They after Bernard gets over his loss of faith in the faith healer, he says we get yet another very sweet scene between the two where Bernard says, "All right, we'll stay here forever. We're just never gonna leave here, and I'm gonna live here with you forever, and that's just that. That's our life now. And they're once again doing the expressive face and hugging each other, and they're crying, and it's in love.
sweet.
It's really nice.
He's in love with her. It's very good. That's like, and that's the main plot of the episode.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's we can talk about the other. There's like a side plot that's kind of like there, and we can talk about it.
It's
But
kind of like half there.
It's half there. It exists, but like this episode being so like, it's mostly a very standalone episode. It's very self-contained, and
Which makes sense because it's like Bernard and Rose are such side characters.
yes.
And they're so inconsequential to any moving forward of the actual plot. But so it's like, yeah, their episode is probably not going to have a lot to do with anything.
But what's like, it's kind of like, we have mentioned this before, where like this is the kind of episode that doesn't happen anymore, where it's just like, we're gonna just dedicate an episode to these side characters and see what they're up to. And Bernard's gonna yell at people, and that's gonna be the plot for this week.
Yeah, I can really only think of like one
Man
show
is gonna try and
that does
move
that
rock.
anymore, and it's over too. So, because like the only show I can even think of that's done that in the last couple of years is like You're the Worst, and that's pretty much it. And
Jeez, I want more shows to do filler episodes. I miss them. I miss like just being able to be like, well, this week this week doesn't matter that
It's
much.
nothing.
The stakes are
Yeah.
very low this week,
Yeah.
and that's fine. But everything's in this fast-paced society, everything's always moving. Everybody's always got to go. Nobody
Moving
takes
and grooving though.
moving and grooving, and nobody takes the time to just try to just yell at all the main cast members for a while.
Exactly.
I salute Bernard
to
for
visit
doing that.
the man in the
so.
khaki pants.
Bernard is doing what we all wish we could.
Yeah, just
And
yelling.
this episode's only
Yeah.
flaw is that he didn't yell at every single main character.
Pretty much.
His
yeah.
biggest flaw in this, it was that he didn't yell at Charlie.
No, he
Yeah,
doesn't yell at
what-
Charlie.
what-
He yells at Echo.
Yeah, that's rude. Like, if I was gonna go on the island and I could be on there for like 24 minutes, 25 minutes, the first thing I would do would be yell at Charlie, and then
Totally.
yeah. Well, he
Charlie
doesn't get to
keeps
yell at
stealing the
Jack.
baby.
He doesn't get to yell at Jack either because Jack's not even there.
No.
And then
No.
Yes.
Saeed is unspotted this episode. There was not a single Saeed spotting.
There's
So-
no Saeed.
No Saeed, which
He
is
doesn't yell at Locke.
it's a damn shame. Saeed is mentioned, but Saeed is alluded to, but
Yes.
not seen. So the other plot of this episode, I guess, as we alluded to, was Jack and Kate Jack basically goes. So this is during the time when Ben Linus is trapped in the hatch, but they don't yet know it's Ben Linus, but they do know he is not who he says he is. They know he's another, and so they're just kind of keeping him prisoner. Jack goes in to dress his wound and says, all right, here's the deal. We're going to try to go out to the others where we met the others that time, and we're going to trade you. We're going to offer you up, and maybe they can give Walt back, because Walt is also kidnapped right now. And the two main plots of this are Jack going with Kate into the woods to try to yell at the others for a while. This plot is fine. Jack and Kate, while they're wandering, Kate accidentally trips one of Russo's traps, and they both get caught in a net. And then they're it's a bit of a horny scene.
Yeah.
There's a lot of
It's
like
definitely.
Yeah, they definitely try to get very
lot of
like they make it a very like funny horny, and it's like
yeah.
I don't care for Jack.
It is a bit of a
so-
funny horny. I don't care for Jack, and I don't like it when there's a lot of close-ups of him panting. I could do
Yeah.
without that in my life.
And I don't like that like they have to put like their faces so close because they're in the net, and then they're both like struggling to get his gun out, and it's just gross.
Yeah. They do have a fun banter where they're like, Kate's like, I'm gonna get the gun out, and I'm gonna shoot Jack says, get my gun, and I'll shoot the rope out. Kate says, actually, I'm gonna just do the gun. I grew up hunting with my dad, so I'm a better shot than you. But then Kate misses, and Jack says, oh boy, you missed. It's my turn. And and they go back and forth, and Jack eventually does successfully shoot the rope and frees them from the net, and they fall down. And that's that. They end up going out to the woods, and just Jack is like, oh, this is where we met the others. because this is where this happened and this is where this happened. This is exactly where we met the others last time.
And I'm like, I remember
And
all
then
of that
Jack just-
happening. Yeah.
It's very it's like kind of shocking how like detective-y he is about it. It's just like, this is the rock where where 2 bullets flew.
Totally.
Yeah.
And over there is the bush where a man stood. I remember it just like it was yesterday. Because they need a way to confirm with the audience that, yes, this field of green trees is distinct from all the other ones.
Yeah.
True. And then they have like a spot, like a moment where the camera spins around his head as he's like yelling and trying to get the others' attention, and he just like, it made me very dizzy and I had to stop looking at it. But
Understandable. I like when Jack yells at nothing.
Yeah.
Those are my favorite Jack moments.
Me
He does
too.
that a lot, actually. Jack and Locke both yell at nothing.
They all yell at nothing, and honestly, whomst amongst us hasn't yelled at nothing before?
Yeah, good point.
So after my favorite thing is Jack is like, come. Like, he's basically like, come fight me, cowards, and he like lays out the terms of like, we'll give you Ben if you give us Walt. But then they just like wait there until night, and and Kate's like, how long are you gonna wait? And Jack's like, till I'm gonna wait for my voice to come back, then I'm gonna yell some more.
Yeah.
Like, great plan.
It's good. I mean, I guess their
It's
yelling
very,
kind of
like,
worked.
It's like a
but...
teenager. Yeah.
Yeah, it actually kind of does work, because then Michael comes stumbling out.
He got a member of that family back.
I also like that. I also like that he was like, Jack came to the table willing to like pay for, like willing to like buy.
Yeah.
And then they were just like, you can take this guy for free.
Yeah.
we don't want him.
It's good. Yeah, well, I mean, Ben kind of alluded to the fact that there's no way they would make a trade for Walt. Like, for some reason, they just really,
Yes.
really want Walt, I guess.
It's
Michael's just
true.
free.
That's great to hear, honestly. Before we wrap up, there's one more scene I want to mention, which is Locke spends some time screaming at Ben, and Ben smiles. That happened.
That was really
the main
good.
scene I want to highlight, though, is the main scene I want to highlight is Locke is just like sitting on the beach, and then Rose just comes to like sit next to him, and they just like chat. I guess Locke and Rose are friends.
It was
and it's
really
good to me.
nice, yeah, because like you never see Rose and you never see Rose and Locke ever talking to each other, and I really loved this scene too.
They shoot the shit about how Locke's. So basically, Locke's legs got crushed by a blast door. This was on the previously on, and so he's kind of been hobbling around on splints, and he's frustrated, and he's like, "Geez, I gotta get it. I just had to get out of that hatch." And Rose kind of hits him with I think Rose kind of like roasts Locke a bit and says haven't seen you out of the hatch in a long time. And then Locke says like, very funny, Rose. And then Rose says, oh, I guess your sense of humor got stuck under the door along with your leg.
It's really good.
That's a crazy joke.
What a mean thing
Yeah.
to say out of
The
nowhere.
sweet old lady.
I just love that
I
she
didn't
is like
expect
this
that
sweet
one.
lady, but like she has a lot of like I'm gonna call this an epic burn. I'm gonna say Rose has a couple epic burns this episode. So
She does Locke. She does Bernard
Yep.
dirty.
Yes, it's very good. I love it. Rose, because I feel like Rose is always pretty much correct, and so it always feels very earned when she pulls off an epic burn like
Yeah.
this one.
Totally. I feel like she calls people fools in her own way every
Yes.
now and again. But yeah, she's got it figured out.
And they kind of have a head-to-head about like, hey, Rose is like, you know what? You and I both know that this island's gonna heal you faster than it normally does. And Locke's kind of like, you're right. And that's that.
yeah, well, I did like since I hadn't watched the earlier episodes in so long, I was like, oh, that's kind of weird that she knows that. But then they have that scene at the end, or not at the end, but like later
Yes.
on when you see the flashbacks to her in the airport
Yes.
and she drops her meds out of her purse and Locke like wheels up in his wheelchair and picks them up for her, and they have that like moment, and you're like,
Yes. Oh.
I see.
Rose pieced it together. Detective Rose figured it out.
Yeah.
Figured out Locke's true secret. Yeah, that scene happens over the narration she gives about how a sickness is inside you and you can feel it and all that.
Oh, yeah.
That's a scene we kind of forgot to mention, but it's fine. We mentioned it now. We got there in the end.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's the
the
episode.
show.
That's the dang show. Good episode, in my opinion.
Yeah.
What do you guys
Great
think of this episode?
I love these characters.
Yep. That was a really good one.
I like to see them.
Yeah, I was like really unsure what I was gonna get because like it is like a good roll of the dice coming onto the show and being like, I don't remember what this episode's about, and then watching it and being like, I'm pleasantly surprised because I could have gotten a real miss, but.
Yeah, it turns out it was a big hit. It was a nice little self-contained hit.
Yeah, well, I figured that like season 2, if it was a season 2 episode, I knew it was probably gonna be pretty good, but you never know. There's some good,
Totally.
there's like the Charlie steals a baby in season 2 too, so I don't know.
Yes. Like, see, there's some, like, bad episodes, like, all through the show. There's, like, some surprising stinkers throughout the whole show.
Yeah.
That is what has surprised me most about this show is how, like, even when it's doing peak form, it can just have, like, Nikki and Paula was, like, mid-season 3.
Yeah.
And that's one of the worst episodes of the whole show.
True.
It was, like, telegraphed that they would just put out, like, a lot of clunkers.
Yeah, I think
we
they
really
would.
should have seen it coming.
Yeah, my personal worst episode of the whole show is definitely in season 3 because it's one of the first Jack episodes in season 3, the tattoo one. I gotta say that's the worst episode of the
Did
show
we watch
for me.
the tattoo one?
You have not watched it
We
yet.
haven't gotten to that episode, and I'm excited to get there, honestly.
It's really bad.
I cannot wait to get there.
Yeah.
I almost considered fudging the numbers and asking you to come on when we were watching that episode because I know you hate it so much.
Oh, it's so bad. I mean, it's just funny. Jack gets a tattoo.
It's not good.
Gets many tattoos, and it's bad.
Oh my god, it's
Jack is such a tortured soul.
Jack is something. I'll tell
Jack
you
is
what.
so much less likable than the writers think he is.
True.
Yeah, it's true. He's very, very unlikable.
He's
I don't
bad.
like him even a little
Oh,
bit.
you know what that reminds me of? So
I'm wondering-
thinking about how bad Jack was reminded me of how good. It reminded me of putting Sawyer and Vincent in the same tier in the tier list. And it reminded me that
Yes.
Sawyer and Vincent had a scene together today in this episode.
Yes.
They hung out.
There's
That's
a scene.
true.
Vincent
There's
made a
a-
cameo.
Yes, there's a whole montage at the end after when Bernard and Rose are hugging on the beach. And then we get a montage of a bunch of people while These Arms of Mine is playing. And it's nice. It's just it's like Echo and Charlie building a church and Claire and Aaron having a good time. And Vincent comes up to a mean-looking Sawyer and licks some peanut butter off of Sawyer's hand. And
good.
Sawyer
So
looks
cute.
Sawyer looks grumpy about it, but we know he likes
Oh
it.
yeah,
He's happy.
he loves Vincent. We all love Vincent. Like Richard Dawkins' shirt, we all love Vincent. That's me.
It's true. It's true. I want that shirt, and I want to wear it every day.
Same.
So this episode, as self-contained as it was,
did raise a couple of questions.
Of course it did.
And I'm gonna read them to you, and I'm wondering if you guys will be interested to hear what Lostpedia thinks the answers
Okay.
are. So first of all, what is the significance of the magnetic spots of energy around the world? These are alluded to by Isaac in that one scene.
My God.
They
Steph, do you want to go for it?
they heal you. I mean, they're.
I hate this plot.
I don't know.
It's the answer is short but sweet. They are interconnected to one another. The source is the energy of the island.
Right. Okay. That sounds right. I want to know where all the
Yeah.
other ones are.
I know.
That's kind of like a cool, it's very cool, the idea of the island is not the only quote. The idea of other places that have island-like properties is an interesting idea that never gets even a little bit brought up again.
Because if it ever did, they would reference it in that answer too.
True.
And they don't really.
I want to know why why Isaac's little magnet pocket isn't strong enough to heal Rose.
I know.
I mean, come on, Isaac.
There's another question that is, why did Michael emerge from the jungle? But I feel like that's pretty
Because they let him go so he could go.
Yes.
Kill?
Because they let him go.
Yeah.
That's exactly right.
Because they don't like him.
We have a long section of self-implied here that I
Oh my
really want to get in
God.
here too. How was Isaac of Uluru able to harness the energy?
Through his hands.
That is-
I don't know. I love the way he just puts his hands over her face, like that's gonna harness the energy and fix her. And it's like just being there didn't do it.
I love that. That's how you harness energy. You
I
just
think.
put your hands like that. It's good.
Can I take a guess?
Please.
I think. Was he wearing a Q-ray bracelet?
You know what? He might have been. The actual answer is, or the, self-implied answer is, there's a couple bullet points here. I'm just going to go all at once. Given that Isaac is a faith healer, this suggests that his ability was spiritual or psychic in nature. Also notable is that the energy is ultimately linked to all human beings.
What the fuck?
The energy.
The energy.
I just love to think about how I just love to think about the energy. All the citations in this one are that one fucking like super late episode where it's like Jacob's past and Allison Janney is there and she says the light is the reason and everybody has a light in them. And
I feel
it's
like you shouldn't be allowed to cite that for like things that happen this early.
God.
You shouldn't be able to use that shitty episode to like reason for season 2 because I don't think they knew that at that point.
No.
I don't
I
think
think
so
this is just
either.
horseshit, but I do love it anyway.
Mhm. There's another episode. There's another question that's pretty similar. Which part of the island produces this energy?
The heart?
The light part?
The light part.
Isn't that what it's called?
Rose herself. Yeah. Rose implies that the island as a whole is the place of energy. This is confirmed in later episodes, which continue to demonstrate the presence of electromagnetism running through the interior of the whole island. The source of this energy is at the heart of the island, of course.
No.
So, yeah, I learned a lot from that.
What do you
Those
think
are
would-
all the questions.
That's it?
Yep. That's it.
My
There's no
question is,
trivia on
what would
Bernard
happen if
or
you went to the
Rose?
island with a pacemaker?
Wow.
Yeah. What happens? Oh, yeah, I guess.
Well,
so the problem
your
is.
pacemaker would stop.
Yes.
But you wouldn't need a pacemaker anymore.
That's true.
What
But-
about your watch?
but
Like,
could
wouldn't
you-
your watch stop too? I'm just
I
thinking
guess
about
so,
like
because of space-time reasons.
I don't know, cause like I'm just thinking like, cause I'm a chemist and I used to have to use a lot of instruments that are like gigantic magnets, and it's like you can't bring your credit card in here, you can't bring a pacemaker in here, you can't bring like your keys in here. And now I'm trying to just imagine like what the island would be like, cause the island's basically just
Wow.
like a big ol' magnet, I guess.
A big ol' magnet. But
Well,
like the
Can
dark.
can we all just quickly for 1 second like consult the light that's inside of us all?
That's a
For
really good
maybe
point.
A piece of the answer.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it connects us all, and so we all have it. So
we should know.
we really should just know.
Do you think the island could cure my
God.
depression though? Like, I don't know. Is it only physical
Boy,
things?
I hope so.
I think the island caused my depression.
Yeah, I just like, yeah, it really is like the island is helpful for plot reasons because people have like the Dharma people brought a bunch of science stuff to the island and it
Oh, they
seems
brought
to work just
everything.
fine.
Yeah.
Like, it really is just like it does. Well, it really is just like it works. Because we say it does. Trust
yeah,
us.
Yeah.
I'm convinced like the electromagnetism thing doesn't seem to have anything to do with electromagnetism.
No.
No, not at all. So that was a great episode of Lost, IMO. So I miscalculated last time. I said that last time is our last time rolling from 1 to 60, but I actually miscounted. Steph, would you like to do the honors of going to our favorite website, random.org, and entering 1 to 60 and hitting us with a number?
I sure would. Okay, I got random.org open, 1 to 60. Okay, so I got 47.
47.
Wow.
We have watched that one, so I'm going to have to ask you for another
Okay,
number.
9.
9. Okay, 9 is season 1, episode 13, Hearts and Minds, and it's a Boone episode.
Oh, fuck.
Ready to learn about
didn't
Boone?
expect that. I really didn't expect Boone to rear his ugly head.
He's back, baby.
I can't wait to watch someone who can't act for a whole episode.
It's true. He's here. Everyone's favorite special boy. Oh, God.
Prepare to watch
Yeah.
the OC light.
Oh, boy. Get ready. I can't wait. I'm
Well,
thrilled to be
At
here.
least it's
Oh,
probably
my
the
gosh.
one where he gets like severely injured, like right before he dies, probably. Because I think he only has like
I
one
hope so.
episode.
Probably, yeah.
But
Yeah, this is his only episode. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
so I'm glad we're getting it out now at the 3/4 mark of the show.
The perfect point.
The perfect point to finally learn about Boone. Oh boy, that's been podcast. I think.
that's been podcast.
Thank you so much again, Stephanie, for being on here. I'll let you do your plugs first and foremost.
Sure. Well, thank you for having me. I am, Stephanie. I also host a podcast on Noise Space called City Girls Make Do. It's a Sex and the City podcast that I host with my good friend Alex, and it's kind of cursed, but at the same time, it's a lot of fun, and we do a lot of yelling. So you can find that on noisespace.xyz as well. And then if you want to find me elsewhere, I'm on Twitter at Age of Oddish and on Tumblr at Windfall Island. And that's pretty much it.
That's that's it. I am Bean. I would plug this show, but you're already listening to it, so I don't gotta sell you on anything. Instead, I will sell you on my Twitter account, which is @BarrierTrio. It's locked right now because I yell about how I hate my job, but feel free to follow me anyway if you'd like. James?
I've been James. You can follow me on jamesbrown.space, my professional website.
It is a good website, and I like to go there. You can follow the show at facebook.com/theislandshuffle or Twitter @islandshuffle. I also want to give another shout out to noisespace.xyz for hosting us. Thank you to Matt. And guess what? There's a bunch of other podcasts on Noisespace that are good too, like Podcasting is Forbidden in the Cloud Recesses, The Stick, Henry Kissinger's Pokemon Going to Die. Boy, I sure picked all the longest, two of the longest titles and the shortest
And The
title.
Stick.
True. Well, there's a pod cabbages is a
perfectly
short
balanced.
one. Yeah.
Yep. That's what I call podcast. And so thank you again for joining us on this lovely journey. And like we say at the end of every single episode,